Hello, my name is Sean Yarter, and I would like to present my final project for geospatial database design for the spring 2015 semester, new geodatabase creation. The topic I have chosen for my geodatabase is Gulf of Mexico oil facilities. The reasoning for choosing this topic is that it involves hydrology features, as opposed to land-based related features that I work with most often. The data involved in my project includes pipelines, oil rigs, coastline, and a trenches layer that includes basins and canyons that are underwater. The work scope of my project is along the shore of the Gulf of Mexico, including the coastline of Texas and Louisiana. The first step of my process is to create the geodatabase design forms that can be found in the Geodatabase tutorial textbook. The first sheet of the Geodatabase design forms shows that the geodatabase name is Gulf Oil. I will create two separate feature datasets within the Gulf Oil geodatabase. The first feature dataset is named Oil Facilities. This feature dataset contains two feature classes, a line feature class for pipelines and a point feature class for oil rigs. The tables worksheets shows the attributes for my two feature classes. The pipelines feature class contains the attributes of pipeline length, segment ID, right-of-way instrument, owner, destination block number, origin block number, destination name, origin name, and pipeline diameter. The rigs feature class contains the attributes of rig ID, number of structures, rig name, installation date, and removal date. The pipeline feature class contains a subtype field named pipe type. This subtype field is based on the pipe size. The pipe type subtypes worksheet shows the three separate subtypes: minor, moderate, and major. The minor subtype will be for the pipelines that are 12 inches or smaller in diameter. The moderate subtype will contain pipelines within the diameter of 12 inches to 34 inches. The major subtype will contain the pipelines that are larger than 34 inches in diameter. The second feature dataset within my geodatabase is named Ocean Feature. I have created three separate feature classes: a line feature class for the Gulf of Mexico coastline, a polygon feature class for major underwater features, and a polygon feature class for lease blocks. The attributes of the coastline feature class are coastline segment length, segment ID, tide risk, slope risk, tide classification, wave classification, slope classification, erosion classification, and sea level classification. Two of these attributes contain a domain for the risk assessment. The risk assessment domain will have 5 different values. There are 5 attributes within the coast feature class that have a classification domain. The second feature class in this feature dataset is major feature. The major feature class contains 2 attributes for feature name and maximum depth. The third feature class is the blocks, which contains 1 attribute for block number. The domains worksheet contains two separate domains. The first domain is named Risk Assessment. This is a short integer type coded value domain. There are 5 different coded values, starting with number 1 for the lowest risk and number 5 for the highest risk. The second domain is named Classification. This is a text field type with coded values. There are 5 different coded values ranging from very low to number 5, which is very high. Before I begin creating the geodatabase, I begin with the data that I have collected. At this point, I only have standalone shapefiles. As you can see, I have obtained 5 separate shapefiles for blocks, coast, feature, pipelines, and oil rigs. As you can see, these feature classes contain thousands of features and later will be loaded into my geodatabase. The next step is to create my geodatabase in Arc Catalog. I have named my geodatabase Gulf Oil. I like to create the domains in the first step of my geodatabase creation, so I don't have to worry about creating the domains later in the process. See, I have created the risk assessment and classification domains with the necessary coded values. The first of the 2 feature classes that I will create is called Pipelines. The Pipelines feature class is within the feature dataset named Oil Facilities. Here I have entered the attributes for the pipeline feature class. I have also given each attribute an alias, specified yes or no for allowing null values, and choosing a domain for the fields as necessary. I have added subtypes to the Pipelines feature class. I have filled in the 3 different subtypes for minor, moderate, and major, and I have chosen a projection for this feature dataset. The next feature class I will create is named the Rigs feature class. I have entered the attributes and chosen the proper data type for each attribute. I have added an alias, specified yes or no for null values, and added default value if necessary. The next feature dataset I will create is named Ocean Feature. I will create the first feature class within this geodatabase for the coastline. I have entered the attributes for coastline and chosen the correct data type for each attribute. Again, I have created an alias, specified yes or no, and chosen a domain as necessary. The next feature class I will create is named Major Feature. This feature class contains the 2 attributes that were specified in the geodatabase design forms. The next feature class I will create within the geodatabase is the Lease Blocks, which is a polygon feature. This is within the Ocean Feature dataset. As you can see, I have completed my geodatabase structure in Arc Catalog. My geodatabase contains 2 separate feature datasets, one for Ocean Feature, one for Oil Facilities. The Ocean Feature dataset contains 3 feature classes for Block, Coast, and Major Feature. The Oil Facilities feature dataset contains 2 feature classes for pipelines and oil rigs. I have added a topology rule to the feature dataset for oil facilities. I would like for the oil rigs to connect to the end of pipelines, so I have specified the rule rigs must be covered by endpoint of pipelines. Now that my geodatabase is created, I will use the simple data loader to load the previously shown shapefiles into my newly created geodatabase. As you can see, I have loaded data to the block feature class by choosing the correct attribute mapping. I have chosen the correct attribute mapping for every feature class within the coastline feature class, every attribute. As you can see, the features have been added successfully to the coastline feature class. The next feature class I will load data to is the major feature class. I will use the simple data loader, map the attributes correctly, which can let me successfully load the data. The second feature dataset for oil facilities needs to have the data loaded. Again, I am using the simple data loader. The first feature class I will load data to is the pipelines feature class. I will load the data separately to each of the three subtypes. Since these subtypes are based on size, I will have to create a query to load only the data that meets the correct subtypes. As you can see, I have successfully loaded my pipeline shapefile over to my pipeline feature class. The last feature class I need to load data to is the rigs feature class. I am using the simple data loader to correctly map the target field with the matching source field. In this preview from Arc Catalog, you can see that I have successfully loaded the rigs shapefile into the rigs feature class. In this preview of the table in Arc Catalog, you can see that the data has been successfully loaded. The next step is to add the geodatabase to ArcMap so I can review the data. I have used the Add Data button and found my Gulf Oil geodatabase. As you can see, once the geodatabase is added to ArcMap, you can see all the oil rigs and the other features. I will now test my feature classes to ensure that I can create new features. When I open an edit session and attempt to create a pipeline, I am successfully able to create a pipeline segment. I will also like to review the topology errors by opening the topology toolbar within an edit session and choose to validate the edits. I have documented the websites used to obtain the shapefiles for my project. This concludes my project over geodatabase creation. Thank you for listening and have a great semester.